Hello, welcome back to She's a Lot, because I am. Right, today we are going to look into more of the negative sides of ADHD, but I don't want to say negative in terms of like, you've got it, get over it, move on. It's more about the challenges that we face, the downsides of it, and the harder challenges that we come across daily. And then we're going to be very constructive and we're going to think of some ways that we can work through them. These are ways that I have managed to mask my ADHD for nearly 34 years. So I kind of know what I'm doing. So we're going to go through some advice. This might be a good one to grab a little notebook and really sit down with me and go through it with me. Grab a notebook, grab a pen, and we're going to go through things together. I have got my laptop with me today down here, so if I keep looking down, that is what I'm looking at, because we're taking it seriously today, because we want this to be very constructive and very helpful. So the first one we are going to look at, we are going to call academic and professional challenges. I'm hoping that title might appear somewhere on the screen right about now. If not, I am just going to sit here like this and look like a bit of a wally, but hopefully that is there. So yeah, obviously for a lot of people, your ADHD is turning up in your life when you are at school. This then obviously becomes more and more apparent as you go through adulthood and you start to look at getting a job and those sort of things that we all have to do as adults, even though we'd rather not. So the main things that come up, and this is the big one that everybody knows about, which is your difficulty focusing and sustaining your attention on tasks and instructions. This is usually when things really don't interest you at all. For a lot of people, ADHD is do well under pressure. So you might have found yourself at school being that person that does really well last minute, and they are cramming and they are doing exams the night before and they're cramming it all in. That is very stressful, but actually for ADHDers, it's actually quite helpful and it's something that they do quite well with. I certainly do well under pressure. However, it does increase those stress levels because you're getting everything done at the last minute and it's quite hard to do, but it happens. You have then got your procrastination and your perfectionism. That is huge. I am such a perfectionist. I am obsessed with getting everything like as good as it can possibly be instead of just starting something and just going for it. These YouTube videos, for example, is a really good example of that. I and ahed for ages and I was like, what should I do? What should I call it? How should I do it? Where should I do it? And I actually was like, do you know what? Let's just start it and see what happens. And if it takes off, great. If it doesn't, we'll evaluate it. So completing projects and struggling to get things done is a real big one. This then leads to you kind of beating yourself up a little bit because you don't feel like you're being overly productive. And that's a hard one. This then leads into your disorganization. Huge. Little bit scatty, little bit disorganized, struggling with time management, losing things, and prioritizing your tasks. Those are your three big, massive ADHD blocking points in your life that are hard. Some of the things that I have managed to do that I'm hoping will be helpful here for you is things like, for example, setting yourself a really good working environment. So if you work in an office or you're working from home and you're motivating yourself, it's about creating that environment that is very, very calming and nice and usually aesthetically pleasing. You're near a window, everything's nice and well lit, and you're not in a dark, dingy corner of your bedroom. One of the other things that I absolutely love doing, and I swear by this, is setting an alarm on your phone for tasks. So the other day I actually did this and put it on my Instagram and everyone loved it. I will set an alarm on my phone for an hour, sometimes even 45 minutes. I will then put my phone on do not disturb, and I will then put my phone in another room or out of the way, and I cannot go and get my phone until that alarm goes off. That for me is a really good way of just going, okay, for the next 30, 45 minutes, I need to just do that one task. And it will force you to just focus on one thing at a time. The other thing from here is a very obvious one, but some people we forget, is your to-do list and doing your to-do list in levels. So what I tend to do is a big sort of brain dump on a Sunday of like all the things that's going on in my brain, everything I need to do that week. What I'll then do is break that down into priorities. So I'll go, okay, this needs to be done ASAP. This can wait till the end of the week. This is kind of a fun task that I can do if I feel like I'm struggling and I want to do something fun. And then this is something that's like really, really, really important that really needs to be done. So you can level those to-do lists out. What you would then do is structure those into your day. So if you know you've got more time on a Monday and less time on a Tuesday, it's like, okay, well, I'll get all my priority stuff done on a Monday. And then on a Tuesday when I'm really busy, I'm just going to do a couple of those little fun jobs here and there. So leveling out your to-do lists and putting them down at like one at a time tasks. This will then take us back to the other point. So if you are setting that alarm for half an hour, you could actually make a list of 2 things you need to do in that 30 minutes and you try and get them done one at a time. I know that is hard. When you are riddled with ADHD like me, it's very hard to do one thing at a time, but we need to try. And then the other thing that I really swear by, and sometimes it becomes my downfall, but I try and do like my favorite jobs first. So if I've got something kind of creative and fun to do, like, I don't know, making a logo or doing a poster or doing a social media post or doing something that's kind of fun, I try my hardest to get that done first. That then kind of gets my creative juices flowing, and it gets me a bit like into the right mind frame, into work, and then I'll go on to the more serious and more boring tasks. That is also a little bit risky, because then sometimes you get a little bit carried away with the fun one and then you forget that you've got boring ones to do. But really good few ways to kind of keep you organized, keep you on track, keep that procrastination under wraps. A really big one with ADHD, especially if you run a business or you've got a really high powered job, or even you've got responsibilities like kids and pets and all the other things that we have to do, is struggling to switch off. And it's really hard to navigate your time between kind of off time and work time. That is one thing I really struggle with as a business owner. I actually beat myself up a lot if I'm not productive all the time, and it's stupid. It's actually the daftest thing you could ever do. A couple of things that I've tried to do and tried to learn through is realizing that your downtime is just as important as your graft time, because that is where you recuperate and you need to kind of get your head back in the game, rest and recover and get back fresher. If I get to a point where I'm sat on my laptop for hours, I did it the other day and I ended up bursting into tears because I was sat there and I just couldn't concentrate on anything I needed to do. And I was stressing myself out and I was like, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do that. I stopped what I was doing. I pulled myself away from it. I actually have a dog, so I took the dog out for a walk and I came back to those tasks so much fresher and so much more like recuperated and ready to go, instead of sitting there and stressing myself out to my eyeballs. So having an outlet where you can walk away, for a lot of people that will be walking the dog, going to the gym, going on a walk in general, catching up with a friend, making a nice coffee, having a bath, having a shower, something that's just going to pull you away from those activities so you can come back to it fresher, is such a good idea. The other thing as well is setting your priorities for that day. So the only things that you need to do that day, and then telling yourself you can switch off and you can chill. And then designating your days on and your days off and your hours on and your hours off. That's a big one. So I do try my hardest to not work on a Sunday. Any self-employed business owners out there will be like, lol, what's a day off? That sounds fun. Days off on a Sunday. And I now have got to a point where I actually try and either plan stuff in on a Sunday. So I'll plan stuff in with my friends. I'll plan to go for a workout. I'll plan to go for a walk. I'll meet my friends for a coffee, etc. Or I will plan to actually do nothing. And I'm like, right, between 12 and 4 on Sunday, I'm going to put the wash on and I'm going to sit down and watch a movie and chill. And that to me is so important. It is just as important as working all the time, is that downtime and that rest, because you are going to burn yourself out and you are going to run yourself into the ground. So that is a really important one. If you are making notes right now, a couple of things that you can think of doing is write down on that piece of paper, what are those outlets for you? What are those walk away, have some space? What are they? You, like I just said, they will be things like going for a walk, ringing a friend, grabbing a coffee, even things for some people they enjoy, like tidying their house for 20 minutes. Put some noughties R&B on and go and clean your house for half an hour, and I guarantee you'll come back feeling fresher and better. So have a little note of those things, and you know that when you're struggling and you're losing concentration, you can pull that list out and you can go, right, okay, let's do this and let's get fresh, get back to it. Do not sit there and do what I did the other day and cry about how stressed you are. Move away and come back to it fresher. The next one, which I'm hoping will appear on the screen here, is a big one. And it's a big one for me. And it is called excessive talking and over-explaining. Hello. So your impulsivity is a big one with ADHD. I don't feel like I'm impulsive with activities, but I'm definitely impulsive with things like overacting or speaking without thinking, which can then really make you feel quite misunderstood and a little bit like you're too much or you're a lot. Hence the name of these videos. The other thing for me is you're needing to over-explain things. So for me, and this was very clear on the show, but when I was on Married at First Sight, I found myself getting interrupted quite a lot, especially by my husband. That to me, and with someone with ADHD, is so stressful because you haven't finished what you were trying to say. So when you've got thoughts in your brain and everything's whirling around and it's like a little roller coaster up in there, you need to get that sentence out in a full sentence without someone interrupting you. And if they do interrupt you, it becomes quite hard because you're like, I need to finish. To other people that don't know you or don't know that you've got ADHD, it looks like you're being rude. You can't wait your turn. You're impulsive and you're interrupting. I got so much trolling on TikTok and on the internet of people being like, she doesn't let people speak, she's always interrupting, she's such a brat. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. I can see how you can see that. I watched it back and I can understand that. There were times in maths and in life and generally where if you don't let me finish my sentence, it makes me feel so stressed out that I then go into my shell and I look like I'm being a brat. It's just because I'm stressed out because you haven't let me finish. So that is a really, really big one. You've also got things like you're struggling at school because you feel like you maybe need to ask a question and the teacher's like, no questions right now. But if you've got a question in your brain and you can't get that question out, the frustration in that is so hard to deal with. If you've got things that you need to talk about and you need to explain and it doesn't feel like the right environment, that gets really, really, really hard. So you looking like you are interrupting and you can't wait your turn and you're a bit like, I need to get it out. Really, really, really hard one. This is where there's multiple levels to the advice I'm going to give you here. This is the number one advice I'm always going to say for most of these things is find the right people. Like, you will get to a point where there will be people in your life that are okay with you interrupting. My videographer is currently sat behind the camera right now and we have just had, I would call a conversation, but I just word vomited all over him, and every now and again he chipped in. And as far as I'm aware, unless he nods or shakes his head right now, he's okay with me being interrupted because he can notice that I'm just a bit passionate and I kind of just want to get my points out. But to someone else, they might be like, good God, Hannah, let me fucking speak. So it's that case of like, if I get passionate about something and I get excited about something and I really want to like, I call it a word vomit. I need people around me that are like, right, okay, you get it all out. And then sometimes my friends take the mic and they go, are you ready? Is it my turn to respond? And I'm like, yes, please. Now's your response. So it's about finding those people that are okay with the fact that you just need to finish those sentences, get excited, get giddy, and then you want a response from them. So word vomiting on people, if they're okay with it, maybe just double check with them first before you just word vomit all over them. That's a really big one. And also things like your brain dumps, I call them a brain dump. So getting a journal out, getting your laptop out and just getting all those thoughts down, getting everything out. For me, again, coming back to having the right people in your life, I'm a voice note queen. I am constantly running around like a headless chicken. So I need to send voice notes. A, because I want to just get them thoughts out as quick as I can. And B, I also appreciate that I'm quite blunt as a person when I speak, but also when I text. I'm not a kisses, emojis, love hearts kind of texter. So sometimes I could respond to a text by being like, right, okay, yeah, cool. That looks so rude when you read that out on WhatsApp. Whereas if I voice note you and go, okay, cool, that sounds good. The difference between having your tone of voice coming across and you're right, okay, cool, full stop. My friends know that I'm not being arsey, but if you didn't know me, you would read that response as like, wow, that was rude. Whereas if I voice note it and I can put my tone across and my flowery, fun voice, it just instantly becomes a lot nicer. I also feel like as well, me getting all those thoughts out, instead of me having to type it, it's a lot quicker for a start. I've got people in my life that let me voice note. I actually don't give them a choice. I just do it anyway. But I will voice note them and go, this is what's happened. This is what I'm thinking. 9 times out of 10, my friends will respond to me. One of my best friends, Hannah, does this. Shout out to Hannah. She will respond and she'll go, hi, Han. Hope you're okay. Do you want a response or do you feel better? And most of the time, I actually don't need a response. I just feel so much better from getting all that out of my brain. Obviously, sometimes I go, yes, I'd like your opinion. But 9 times out of 10, I don't actually need your opinion. I just need us to get it out. So thank you so much for listening. This is probably why I made a YouTube channel, because it means I can get all my thoughts out and you can't respond. But yeah, having those people that you can get them out. The other thing as well is having those people that you know you can ring when you're struggling and you need to get those thoughts out. You've also need those people in your life that check on you when you've gone quiet, because it's a bit like you've pulled back a bit and you've gone a bit reclusive, and that's the people that are then going to be like, you've gone a bit quiet, is everything okay? Your other thing as well, which is amazing in a way, within reason, is social media and creating these spaces for us like I'm doing right now. Social media has become this place where you can have those gaps and you can find those little safe spaces where you could actually put your thoughts out and your opinions and things out, as long as they're nice and polite and we're not slagging each other off on the internet, because it's not nice. I get it every day. But making sure that actually you could build a content here, or you could build a safe space here for other people while you talk about your experiences and your opinions. And that could be quite helpful for other people at the same time. You could even start a YouTube channel and not actually post the videos, but they might make you feel better, and that's great. The other big one as well, we are going to go more into kind of social and relationship struggles, which is where this one leads on to, is, do we need to start maybe pre-warning people that we've got ADHD? And this is a really big one that I go around in my head with a lot. And I'm hoping to start a bit of a series as well that's like how to date someone with ADHD or how to be friends with someone with ADHD, because I'm at the point now where I'm like, do I need to pre-warn people? So I'm like, listen, this is what's going on in my brain. This is how I am. I just wanted to pre-warn you. So if it does look like I'm interrupting you or it looks like I'm being rude, I'm really sorry. I'm not. It's just how I am. So maybe that is something that we do. I've recently got management and representation for my content, which is amazing. And I actually ended up having a phone call with my manager, and I ended up saying to her, just a pre-warning, I've got ADHD, so if I do interrupt you, I'm really sorry. And she kind of took a breath and she said, I actually love that you've just done that. You didn't need to, but I love that you've just kind of made it clear that it's something you struggle with and you're okay with it. And actually, as your manager, I now need to navigate that with you. And I loved that. And I thought, right, that's amazing. Like, I recently went on a date, and it's like, do I need to tell them I'm on a date? Like, oh, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. If you do it in a positive way and you do it in like a, this is who I am, I really hope you're okay with it, then maybe that's something you think about doing, so you can instantly just stop the stigma and the like, oh gosh. I think maybe in a way, because I was undiagnosed on maths, I didn't have that level of understanding from a lot of people. A couple of the guys on the show, I won't sit here and list names, but a couple of the guys on the show were diagnosed with ADHD. So I do feel like as a group, everyone was like, okay, they've got that, we need to be a bit more understanding. But because mine was undiagnosed and I didn't really speak about mine as much, I was misunderstood and I was a brat and I spoke over people and I was this and I was that. And I was like, hang on a minute, if you all actually knew what was going on in my brain like we do with everyone else, maybe I'd have had a little bit more slack cut for me. So maybe that is something that you want to navigate in a really positive way of like, this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table, take it or leave it, but it's just my way of being like, I really hope it doesn't come across as rude, but this is what's going on in my brain. This leads us very nicely onto, we're already halfway there, your social and your relationship struggles. So these are all going to start intertwining now. This will be things like you interrupting conversations, difficulty waiting your turn as a kid. Obviously, that's a lot harder as a child when you're like, oh, I really want to go on the hopscotch. You got to wait. Struggling to stay engaged and listening when things aren't interesting to you. Not great, but also like, I'm bored of you, I don't want to be in this convo, I'm off. Maybe it filters out people that you don't want to be around. Remembering commitments like birthdays and anniversaries and places you need to be. Making inappropriate comments, maybe because you don't have as much of a filter and you will need to get your thoughts out. That is a big one for me. I don't want to say I'm inappropriate, but I do not have a huge amount of filter. So I know I need to be around people that kind of understand my banter and understand that I'm a bit silly and a bit wacko. So that's a big one. Again, taking it back to maths, I was accused a lot of like flirty banter and inappropriate and this. I do just have that kind of banter, and some people are okay with it. Like Orson on the show, for example, loved my banter and we got on really well and we had a laugh with it. Other people didn't. So it's a case of finding the people that are okay with you being a bit silly and a bit inappropriate, but also in the same breath making sure that you're not inappropriate in the wrong scenarios. You still need to be professional and be polite. And if someone says to you, listen, I found that inappropriate, you need to be like, okay, cool, no worries. I'll filter it and I'll work through that. Your last one on this section, because we are going to split this up into two parts, because this is going to be a lot for your little ADHD brain. Your big one, we're going to finish on the last one and it's going to be your big one, and it is your emotional dysregulation. Huge. As ADHDers, or as anyone that's just got big personalities, you will going to feel your emotions very intensely. And we did it on the last episode and we did the positive. So you are usually very high energy, very optimistic, very entrepreneurial, very fun, very giddy, very golden retriever. But that does come with a downfall. And that downfall is you feeling your negative emotions very intensely. You can change your mood very quickly. So things can really get you down very quick, just as they can get you excited very quick. So you can struggle with intense, quick mood changes. You can also struggle massively with rejection sensitivity. So as ADHDers, or generally as people, we are very, very, very sensitive to rejection and criticism. There is obviously a lot of times when this happened to me on the show, but there are also a lot of times where you can see that the walls just come up. So there will be certain points where I can feel myself getting rejected. I can feel myself being pushed away. So my instant reaction is to push back and to kind of go, right, cool, you're going to reject me, so I'm going to reject you first. Walls are going up. This clearly is me going, right, okay, cool, you're about to reject me, so I'm going to push back on you. That then makes me look like a brat, and I can understand that that makes me look like a brat, but that is just my case of being like, right, cool, I'm going to reject you first because I don't want to get hurt. And this is going to start knocking away at my self-esteem. So I'm going to push back on you. That happened obviously a lot of times on the show. That will happen a lot when you're like dating or when you're finding your friends and things like that. The other big thing that happened to me on the show, which I think is my wedding day, is when I am starting to panic that I feel like I'm being too much, and I'm starting to panic that I feel too comfortable. So on the wedding day, because we had such an amazing time and our day was so incredible, it got to the point at the end of the night, alcohol was now quite a heavy factor in this as well. I started to get really emotional, and I could feel myself being like, shit, this feels too good to be true. I'm panicking. He's going to think I'm too much. I feel too comfortable. Something's going to go wrong. And your brain then goes, something's going to go wrong here because it can't be this good. So that's a big one to navigate. When it comes to advice with this, again, this will come back to having the right people around you. And this will come back to you just trusting your gut and knowing that you're not too much for anyone and you're not too much for the right people. And you can be yourself and you can be out there and you can be optimistic and things can be positive. Try not to overthink things, but it becomes harder massively when you're in different scenarios. This leads us very nicely onto your criticism sensitivity. So with ADHD is you don't like being criticized, you don't like authority, and you don't like being told what to do. This is one thing that I've navigated quite well, I think, because this has been something that I've struggled with. When I was younger, my habit was playing with my hair, and let me tell you, while I'm sat here, it is taking every inch of me to not play with my hair, and I'm actually trying to think about it. I did a podcast with Chloe Burrows and Danny Dyer, casual little name drop there, and I watched it back, and my God, I was literally like this the whole time, because I was like, I'm so nervous, I don't know what I'm doing. I've now had a lot more experience in front of cameras and on podcasts and things, and I've learned that actually I use my hands a lot. So me using my hands a lot is me then stopping playing with my hair. When I was younger, my dad used to scream at me for playing with my hair. Get off your hair, get off your hair, get off your hair. And at the time I remember thinking, why can't I stop? I physically cannot stop touching my hair and I don't know what it is. I've now realized that that's my little kind of quirk and that's my little thing that makes me feel comfortable is to mess with my hair. That's why my hair's always really greasy and always really knotty because I'm constantly playing with it. My sister used to suck a thumb and like mess with the ear, and we've realized that that was her little thing as well. You will always have these little things, and I think it's so that you feel more comfortable in the environment that you're in. So I've now learned as well, again, coming back to like, do we warn people about the ADHD and the interrupting? I might warn people that I'm like, I mess with my hair a lot. It's just a bad habit. It is what it is. This, I don't know how we've just completely gone off topic, but hello, got 99% ADHD. We were meant to be talking about criticism rejection. I've completely gone off tangent, but this is what this is all about. We were actually meant to be talking about criticism sensitivity. So, I was talking about the fact that my dad used to shout at me for playing with my hair. My dad used to also shout at me for being really loud. I am one of the loudest people you will ever meet. Like, I just am. I personally don't hear myself being that loud. However, one thing I used to really struggle with is when people used to be like, Hannah, shut up, you're so loud. Shush, you're so loud. Shush, you're so loud. I actually watched Molly May's documentary the other day, and there's a little clip when she's little and her grandma says to her, Molly, shut up. And I was like, wow, can I relate to that? I don't know if Molly's got ADHD, but I related to that so much that it was like, you were constantly told that you were too loud and you need to be quiet. That's really hard to tell an ADHD loud person to be quiet. However, I've now learned moving forward that the right people in my life will give me that criticism, but in a really constructive way. And I've got friends that I am more than okay that when we're in a restaurant, they go, Han, shh. And I'm like, cool, got it, no problem, because they say it in such a kind and calm and polite, lovely way that I know it's not them shouting at me, it's them just being like, oh gosh, people are looking at us, you need to be quiet. More so now I've been on a TV show, because then when I'm being gobby and talking about my personal life at volume, you never know if it's going to go on Daily Mail. So having the people around you that are going to do things in a really kind and respectful and nice way, and it's very sort of sweet and calming how they do it as opposed to shouting at you for it. So I am now more than okay when I go out for dinner with my friends or I'm out in public that my friends go, Han, quieten down a bit. And I'm like, yep, shit, sorry, you're right. So again, that comes back to criticism sensitivity, but in the right way. Or people that are going to be very much like, come on, calm down, you got this, because they know, you know that they mean it in a constructive way and they want to help you as opposed to shouting at you. This is probably where I should give Amy a shout out from maths, because she was very good at learning how to navigate me, and she was very good at like, Han, calm down. And I was like, yeah, cool. And I knew it was a very constructive, polite thing to do. It wasn't an arsey thing. These then lead on very nicely, because we are going to do some more advice on this one. Feeling quite misunderstood, feeling like you're too much, feeling like you're a lot. And again, finding the right people that are going to fully embrace you. This then leads on to sometimes being very fiercely independent, and it's because your walls are so high and you want to reject people and you want to just deal with things on your own. Some advice there that we've already gone through is the right people in your life that they can help you and you can pre-warn them. Having that support and that care from your friends or your family or your colleagues where they know to just give you a bit of space when you need it. They know to be constructive with things and not just shout at you. And then I'm trying to think, tell you when you need to concentrate. Tell you when you need to concentrate. That's a big one. So I'm going to be careful how I word this. I've got a couple of friends going through some quite serious things at the minute, let's say. And I was on the phone to one of them the other day, and she was telling me something actually really quite important and really quite serious. And I got distracted. And bless her, I love that she did it, and I'm so glad she did it. She went, Hannah, I'm trying to tell you something serious. I need you to concentrate. And again, the way she said it was it was quite harsh, but I felt like I needed it. And it was very much like, wow, okay, you have every right to say that to me, because right then you needed me as a friend. Like every time I need you, you needed me to concentrate and stay on point. So I literally straight away was like, I am so sorry, you are absolutely right. And then I gave the conversation my full attention, because I knew that was important for her. So yes, as much as you can sit here and say you need the support from people and you need the kindness from people, you also need to make sure that you are also being that person for everyone else, and they've got every right to say to you, I need you to concentrate, and that's okay. So I then was like, right, cool, sweet, and I concentrated very well. So getting rid of the distractions when you need them, that's a big one. I think when you're out with your friends or when you're on a date, really important to put your phone in your bag. Don't sit on your phone. Engage with who you're with, engage with who you're around, and don't be constantly getting distracted, because that time with your friends is very important. And then the other one, which is a big one, which is more so common nowadays, is having something to fiddle with. You've got the fidget spinners. I've actually got one in my bag. You've got the fidget spinners. I have a little dangly thing on my phone, which for a lot of people is to hook their phone onto their wrist so they don't drop it. Mine is to mess with and fiddle with, because it keeps me kind of engaged with something else so I can then concentrate. Those are really big ones. I'm going to put a little pause here, because this is probably quite a long video and everyone's brains are probably like, oh, mush. So we're going to put a little pause, and we are going to do a little part 2. But hopefully there was some really good, helpful advice in there. We are going to go on your next ones, your kind of more mental health. I'm not qualified, but I've certainly struggled with my own mental health in the past. Emotional regulation, and then how things can affect your sort of daily life and your lifestyle, and things that we can maybe try and navigate and work through to make sure we are being the best that we can be, and we are trying to navigate that ADHD the best that we can.